So this is part of the Together We Can project, and I'm joined here with June to talk about heart disease and the British Heart Foundation, which is a very, very big topic within our community right now, especially within the elders as well, specifically. So I just wanted you to just sort of explain to me what coronary heart disease is for people that don't necessarily know what that is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's a kind of term that you might hear banded around, or you might hear the words angina as well, or heart attack, and they're all sort of the same family of conditions, really. So what the coronary heart disease is basically the buildup of fatty plaques within the arteries on the outside of the heart that supply the actual heart muscle. And over time, I mean, it's something that you do see very commonly as you get older, and over time those narrowings can get worse.
Right.
And then that's the thing that then can give the symptoms. So that's what we call angina. So that's when people get chest discomfort or breathlessness, being short of breath or very tired. They're the kind of first sort of symptoms that you might see. But sadly, some people do then go on to have a heart attack, um, which which is actually damage to the heart muscle, whether you get a blood clot within that artery and it causes damage to the heart muscle. And that sometimes is the first time that someone realizes they have coronary heart disease.
Right.
And what we want to do is prevent it from getting to that
To
point.
that point. Right.
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
can people do to prevent that from happening?
Well, it's a combination of lots of different things. As I said, it's the buildup of fatty plaques within the arteries. And it's not just one single thing, it's quite sort of complicated picture. So I kind of think of it as a jigsaw sort of puzzle.
Right.
So we know that smoking is a very big risk factor, and it's not just cigarettes. It could be any kind of thing, habit related to tobacco, so maybe shisha or
Yeah.
chewing tobacco. Those kind of things are really bad for the arteries in our heart. And things like high blood pressure, raised cholesterol, diabetes. Again, these are all things that really contribute. Being inactive, if you're not
Yeah.
very sort of active on a daily basis, and the diet as well. Having a good healthy diet can help to
Definitely,
protect
definitely. I
you.
think that's one thing our community sometimes struggle with because we have a lot of fatty foods, which we enjoy, we love them. But I guess in moderation, it would be a lot better for us.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, there are loads of things of the sort of a traditional South Asian diet that are quite healthy.
Definitely,
You've got your lentils and your vegetables and the fish,
yeah,
but there are some things which aren't so healthy. So we know that the sometimes the fried foods
yeah,
and the coconut and the ghee, they are really bad for cholesterol,
yeah,
and we think that possibly that is one of the contributing factors to why people who are of South Asian origin do have higher rates than heart disease compared to sort of white European people who are born in the UK. I mean, yeah, it's a complicated picture, but I think that it's thought that traditionally that might be one of the reasons is to do with the diet.
right. So whilst I was doing some research as well, I came across a really difficult word, and please, I apologize if I pronounce this wrong. We've been practicing all morning on how to say this as well. So it was something called atheroma, or something that can lead to. Right, forgive me for this. I'm really gonna struggle.
Go for it. Go for it.
Atherosclerosis.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Atherosclerosis. Yeah.
Right, I'm not even going to attempt to say that again because I
You
know I'm
don't
going to
need
get
to
it
know.
wrong. But can you explain to us what that
Yeah,
is?
of course. So atheroma, I think that's the first word you said. That really is just excuse me, that is just the fatty plaque
Right.
within the arteries. And atherosclerosis is sort of the process. So you get the process of atherosclerosis, which is the buildup of the atheroma. So
Right.
you don't, it's not essential to know these words. It just means the buildup of the fatty
Fatty
plaques in the
plaques.
arteries. Yeah,
Ah, that's
yeah, yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." And within the office, we were all having this discussion over it on how to say it, and we thought, right, we'll throw that in, see how it goes.
I think an important point is that this condition or this disease isn't just related to the heart. So
Right,
you can get atherosclerosis in all the arteries in the circulatory system in the whole body.
right,
So you might get the buildup of the fatty plaques in the legs, which causes, which may cause pain in the calves, or you might get it in the necks, in the arteries in the neck,
right.
which, at its most serious, that can go on to cause a stroke.
Oh, okay.
So it's all kind of the same sort of family of conditions. But yeah, so narrowings in the heart can cause the coronary artery disease and the angina and the heart attacks, and if it's in the neck, it can affect the blood supply to the brain, causing a stroke.
Right. Is there any way to sort of reverse this, or to sort of prevent it in a sort of way, or can it be cured even, is the best way to put it?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, there is no cure at the moment for coronary heart disease.
Right.
There is lots we can do to slow it down
Mm-hmm.
and to stop its progression, and that is largely done through medication.
Right.
So taking, if you do have this condition, it's vital to take your medicines. It's going to keep you well for longer. There's strong evidence to say that it improves people's life expectancy if you take your medication. And the other vital thing is lifestyle. So making sure that and we can go into that in a little in a bit more detail in a moment, but making sure that you really do try and keep active, have a healthy diet, don't smoke, and we know that can actually help the progression. Help slow down that progression of the narrowings. But unfortunately, there is no cure, but lots and lots you can do to prevent it. So if you do have a family history, so if you have particularly if you've got a parent or a brother or sister with this condition, unfortunately, you will be more at risk of having it yourself. So it's vital that you kind of put all those things in place, because you can then go on to prevent the condition from happening.
That's perfect. Is there any sort of support for people that are suffering with it, or know of a family member that are suffering with it, or if they do get diagnosed in the future with it? Is there any sort of support there for them?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would suggest is, link in with your GP, the person who's looking after you. If you have been admitted to hospital, or if you're under a cardiologist, again, link in with them. Often there are sometimes specialist nurses who can support you through it, giving you advice and tips and information. And also there are sometimes they can point you in the direction of maybe heart support groups, where you actually do go and meet other people with the same condition. That can be really valuable to sort of share experiences.
Definitely.
And if you are interested in hearing more about Heart Support Group, you can go to or getting in touch with one, you can go to our website, and you can put in your postcode and find out your nearest place.
Oh, that's perfect.
The British Heart Foundation offer a lot of support. We're a charity, but one of our aims is to provide information and support with people who've got this condition. So we have a load of information on our website about conditions, about treatments, about tests, about prevention. And we also have our Heart Matters magazine, which people can sign up to for free. Right. And again, yes, on our website you can find the did I mention we've also got a heart helpline, which is staffed by cardiac nurses, open every day, Monday to Friday. And we're happy to give people information and support on anything related to a heart condition.
That's great. That's really great to hear. Would you say coronary heart disease is more prevalent in the South Asian community compared to other communities?
Yeah. Historically, yes. So data that we have is that people of South Asian origin have a 50% higher risk compared to white European people in the UK. And as I said, that's for a number of reasons. We think some of it's due to perhaps genetics.
Right. Okay.
Some of it might be linked to diet. Another big factor is the fact that we know that if you're of South Asian origin, people do tend to gather body fat around their middle,
right,
rather than their kind of legs or their hips. They do tend to carry it in their sort of tummy area. And that can be quite dangerous because it can stop the insulin from working properly, which can increase the risk of diabetes.
Okay.
And we know that diabetes is much higher in this, this community.
Within our community.
And diabetes is one of the main risk factors for having a heart condition. So it is really important, for you to be kind of extra vigilant with all those kind of risk factors and lifestyle. That said, and I gave you that statistic of 50% earlier, it's a little bit too early to say what's happening with sort of second generation,
right,
people now, because the picture might have changed. Diets may change, adapting to a much more kind of traditional, Western diet,
definitely,
and so on. So I think, but it's just a little bit early for us to have any data on that at the moment. I think when that generation get a bit older, we'll be able to do some more interesting comparisons.
Yeah, definitely. But what advice would you give to someone, say a young individual like myself, that have a history of diabetes on both sides of my family, and even heart, it wasn't sort of ruled out, but heart problems on both sides of my family. So what advice would you give to an individual like myself?
Well, the first thing is, the number one thing is probably don't smoke or use any kind of tobacco products. Right. We know that's the number one thing that we know that can help prevent awful things happening to your heart. So that would be the number one thing. Have a healthy, balanced diet. No treats are banned, but it's just about having them as an occasional treat rather than a regular thing in your diet. And you can go onto the British Heart Foundation website for all information about what are the better things to eat and not so healthy things to eat. Try and keep active. We know for particularly females in the older South Asian community tend not to be so active.
Right.
So that's really, really important. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to run a marathon. It's just about a walk every day, or just being more active throughout your day. And that can be housework, that can be gardening, but just getting up and about and moving more. And the other important thing to do is make sure you get, particularly if you've got a strong family history, is make sure you get those checks at your doctor. Right. So diabetes check, cholesterol check, and blood pressure check. If you are over the age of 40, people should be invited to a health check, heart health check at their GPs, which does all those things.
So they can go to their GP and ask for one of them health checks.
Exactly, health checks. Yeah. Yep. They are aimed at people over 40, but I think that if you do have a strong family history of any heart disease, they will do some checks anyway. Just and if any of those, if your blood pressure is a little bit out, your cholesterol's not so good, that can be treated through either lifestyle or medication, and then that will help really protect you from a heart attack or stroke.
So getting checked early is definitely
exactly.
Right. That's great. What other advice would you give to our South Asian community?
I think it's just to kind of reiterate what I've said before. Really, it's trying to. I think it's just being aware that this is an issue, and to not ignore it, particularly family history, linking with your GP or your practice nurse, get that blood pressure, the cholesterol, the diabetes checks, get your heart health check, and just check in with yourself about, is there anything you can do in your lifestyle to try and protect you a little bit more? So be it just upping the amount of walking you're doing, or trying to not have so many fried treats on a regular basis, and try to keep it more.
That I have.
Definitely. And Yeah, and it's just about sort of, and a lot of the diet is, or a lot of the advice around diet really is not about cutting things or depriving you. It's about swapping. So there's
Right.
lots of healthy swaps that you can do. So instead of cooking with ghee, you cook with an alternative vegetable oil.
Right.
Instead of using a lot of coconut oil, you'd use a low fat coconut milk,
Right.
which you can and use perhaps a bit less of it, and instead use some yogurt, some Greek yogurt. So there are lots of sort of alternatives that you can kind of
Yeah, healthier
swap with that
lifestyle
are
choices. Yeah.
much healthier. Yeah. And as I said, go to our website bhf.org.uk, and we've got a plethora of information about diet, lifestyle, all the risk factors that we've talked about.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the interview?
No, I think it's just to say as well, a large part of what the British Heart Foundation do, as well as providing all the information, content, all the information and support
Hmm.
to people, it's that we fund millions of pounds into heart and circulatory disease research every
Right.
year. And that's into getting it better diagnosed, getting it better treated, making sure people get better care, medicines, and ultimately to try and, with the aim of trying to improve people's quality of life,
Well,
and
that's
to
great.
improve life expectancies. And maybe, hopefully, one day we might even find a cure
Oh,
for
I
lots
hope
of
so.
these
Definitely.
conditions. Yeah.
So I guess there's a lot of people working behind the scenes to make this happen as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all our researchers, all our scientists in the lab, all the people on the ground, all the technicians. Yeah,
Wow, that's really incredible. That
yeah.
it's nice to hear, though. It is nice to hear, and thank you so much for all the information you've given us.
Oh, pleasure.
And I hope that this video will help someone out there because I know I've learned a lot from it to cut out my
Good.
fried food. But yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
It
You're
was no, it
welcome.
was
Lovely
great
to talk to
speaking to
you.
you. It was great
Bye
speaking.
now. Bye
Bye.
bye.